Hello and welcome to AIL TV. This is Friday night. As always, I'm here standing in for David Otto because this program is called Security Update. We look into all manners of security regarding Africa and globally. But of course, David Otto, he's in Nigeria. He's actually on a very, very, very big mission. So when he comes back, he will be able to tell you so many things. But tonight, we are going to be discussing an issue that has actually probably surprised a lot of people. But anyway, it is not surprising because politics in Africa is a very, very complicated issue. Now, we are talking about social media blackouts and the impact it has on Africa's economy. Now, I don't want to waste so much time. Tonight, I have got three guests. I have got three guests who are experienced in these matters. As we go along, you are going to hear so many stories. You are going to hear so many, someone will actually bring out the figures. And actually, it is really surprising to see when these blackouts happen, the amount of money that is lost. Now, let me introduce you to my guests. Now, depending what you are looking at, I have got on my left-hand side, it could be your right-hand side. On my right-hand side, I have got Joel. Joel is a management consultant, but he does a whole lot of things. He's also a businessman. He runs a business in Ghana, actually producing very nice, delicious mangoes and stuff. But that is not, we are not talking about today. And also I have got Dr. Tesfaye Mamo Goji. He is a lecturer in economics. He is going to tell you how much is lost when these blackouts happen. And then we have got a broadcaster and a political analyst, Julius Mbaluto. This man is, sometimes you see people walking on the street, but they have got gigantic tasks. And this is the man, because he has worked with ITV, he works with World BBC World Service, and he has got so many stories. Now, we want actually to bring these elements together. If you have got a broadcaster, and then you have got broadcaster and a political analyst, and then you have got an economist, and then you have got a management consultancy firm, I'm sure we are going to have a very, 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 very good evening. So, gentlemen, can you actually just introduce, I'm going to start with Julius Mbaluto to introduce himself and to tell us what exactly he has in store for us tonight. So, Julius, over to you.
Yeah, welcome to those who are watching online, wherever you are. Yeah, my name's Julius Mbaluto. I've got a few hats that I wear in normal life. I'm a former screenwriter, screen actor that was in Kenya. In the Western Hemisphere where we are, typically, precisely UK, I'm a broadcaster. Each week I do run a radio show known as Global Conversations, heard across the world and also at the same time heard in the UK. But I also am the founder of Inform East Africa newspaper, which I'm also one of the editors, editor-in-chief as well. So those are precisely few things that I do. But the topic today is very much close to heart, especially to me. I remember last time I touched a serious issue on social media. I was giving analysis on Sky News in the UK, and that was a time of what we call Cambridge Analytica. For those who missed out the story, Cambridge Analytica was a firm that was being hired to use data to help, especially in politicians to achieve some different goals, political goals. So therefore, we have Cambridge Analytica helping Kenya, Nigeria, and during elections, and it's typically, especially in Kenya, the winnings of Jubilee Party in 2013 and 2017 have been credited to Cambridge Analytica. Globally, when you talk about this kind of Cambridge Analytica, we are talking about the US. The beneficiary of this was President Donald Trump. I can call him former President Donald Trump, whereby he used the same for that. But what comes into mind also is on the other side of the equation, your political systems, especially in Africa, that are also fighting not to be affected by anything to do with Facebook. We are talking about Uganda. We saw last general election, the first thing, during election in Uganda, Facebook used its own power to go and bar top political actors in Uganda, bar their accounts and all that. Then we saw, as a consequence of that action, President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda banning internet. You see, so it's like Facebook banned accounts of top officials, but Museveni says, how about if we ban the whole internet? How about that? And therefore, we want to tonight to figure out, to ask ourselves kind of questions, like number one, as ourselves, as citizens of this global world, how much power do we want to give to the social media? And also, as citizens of this global world, how much power do we want our leaders, especially in African countries, presidents, to wield or hold, that they can ban internet in a country? When you ban internet in a country, it's a bit more like domino effect. You knock one, everything falls apart. And therefore, when you have banned internet in a country like Uganda, what is being affected? What goes wrong? Because the world today is being driven by all these social media platforms. So without them, seriously, there's a problem. And we cannot even now, my third element in that is just to introduce to ourselves what we call punishment. So we saw when President Donald Trump called an insurrection in the US, we saw what happened next was Facebook to ban Donald Trump from being active in any social media. And it's simply because he was incited an insurrection, of course, as we have seen. And therefore, also, we have seen efforts by these social media. Sometimes they do it to ban people who are doing some work which is not great, like, propagating hate. How about extremists operating in the social media, and also all these other actors? So when we look into all these issues, we want to ask ourselves serious questions. But I thought I'd just introduce you the subject. It is a two-way faceted, two-way. We have the good and we have the bad, but also we have the benefits of having all these social media. So wherever you are, feel free to send us comments and all that in terms of where you belong in all this. But let me give hand over to another. We will talk more when we come back, but I think, JJ, I'll hand over back to you. That was a quick intro.
Thank you. So now, when I look at the countries which are actually banning social media, or which are introducing these blackouts in Africa, basically the whole of Africa is actually doing it. You see, in Tanzania, you will be surprised that Tanzania, which actually also seen as a democracy in East Africa, but it introduced draconian laws regarding the Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, and they started charging bloggers, especially those who are actually leaning to criticizing the government and stuff like that. It has been used in Uganda. In Uganda, in fact, they are charging bloggers who have got a big presence online, but they have to be careful not to criticize the government. But also I can see on another hand that the reason why they are doing it, the propaganda is increasing, and they're using Facebook and YouTube actually to create some fake news, which, especially in Uganda, it has taken even a different direction. But anyway, so moving on, let me turn to Joel. Joel, you as a man who has been in Africa, you know I know your origins are from the Caribbean, but you know a whole lot of things about Africa. Now, tell us exactly what is your view of, say, for example, when these blackouts happen. Do these governments realize how much they are losing? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, JJ, and thank you for having me here on this great Friday evening. It's been great to hear what Julius had to say, and I'm going to pick up on some of those points. But my background is in management consultancy. I run an organization called Edge Communications Limited, and we're concerned with communications. And we're concerned particularly and primarily with stories and putting good stories out there. But beneath that, I run a whole range of activities around equality, diversity, and making sure that organizations are effective in delivering on that. When it comes to the internet and particularly global security, when we mention the internet, I'm not an expert. So today I'm really going to give you a layman's view of where I think the situation lies and some of the challenges that Julius has so eloquently laid out. What do we lose when you shut down the internet in any part of the world? Well, there's a global market for creative services and creative industries. I think that global market amounts to something like $500 billion, which is 509 billion. And that was in 2015. So it's grown since then. So music, film, performance, rap, all of those things contribute to that global creative industry. So this is a major industry. And I think that when you shut down a major industry or you stop partaking in that major industry, you have to think about what you lose, because we're all in the competition for business and we're all in the competition for a space in that global marketplace and a piece of the pie. So what do we lose? Africa particularly loses a lot because it's got a lot of creative young people. 60% of the African population is under 25, and that's where people are creative. You know, if you look at the explosion of Afrobeat on social media, rap, and other lifestyle products which Africans are producing right now, when you shut down the internet, you're effectively just shutting off the oxygen, the lifeline, the output that can go to other places. China is the biggest exporter of cultural products and creative products. So we're competing with them. And, you know, they have something like almost heading up to 1.5 billion people on the planet. So they are expert competitors. And if we don't allow our youth to have access to this marketplace, if we don't allow our youth to have expression, then we're shutting off the lifeline of African cultural lifestyle products to the rest of the world. So that's what we stand to lose. I'll pass back to you, but I'll come back and speak a little bit more. I think we also need to speak about security, because there is a notion that, you know, if you go on internet, if the government shuts it off, then that's a bad thing. However, you know, these things are shut off by Facebook, as you can see at the Australian experience right now, where Facebook has pretty much shut off its news feed to the Australian population. So these are powerful organizations. They themselves might take an opportunity to just decide who should have access to this media and who should not. Jay.
Thank you very much, Joel. And now let me just say this. You know, right now, what is happening in the northern part of Ethiopia, also the region known as Tigray, is really badly hit by so many things. Yeah, is hit by COVID-19 like anywhere else. But when I was reading and looking into the impact on this blackout, social media blackout, I realized that a country like Ethiopia cannot really afford to lose that much money. I think Dr. Tesfaye is going to tell us what it is, but I have seen that they have lost in excess of £100 million due to blackouts. Now you can imagine, this is the internal revenue that they have lost. £101 million. Maybe Dr. Tesfaye will have to correct me on that. But when you see that Ethiopia is actually struggling, even I understand they have been a debt cancellation of 188 million, yet they are losing an internal revenue because of this madness of social media blackouts. I don't know. This question will again go back to Julius because he knows more. He gets all these reports. He knows that. He knows what we are not hearing. Now, Dr. Tesfaye, welcome to the program. You are the gentleman who understands numbers. You understand economics, and in fact, you are a lecturer. Do you lecture at Brunei University? Is that right? Good. So, I would like you just to give us a brief account, because this is like a ping pong. We're going to have to be going into. We will also be asking questions according to what you feed us. In your view, where do you think Ethiopia stands today? They have lost 100 million pounds. No, 105 million pounds because of the blackout. There has been a debt cancellation of 188 million. So tell us what you have for us tonight.
Thanks so much for having me here. Just a couple of things, maybe probably one thing. I'm not quite an expert in this field, but social media is social media. That everybody's interested in it. So my relevance here is my exposure to. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my exposure to economics and business and trying to read numbers and so on. So apart from that, I do not have experts' knowledge in the field. So if you when you look at the figures, you just mentioned the £100 million. I do not have that figure. I tried to research a little bit about how much loss has been incurred, and I checked reliable sources like NetBlock, Brookings Institute, and Deloitte. I couldn't find the accurate figures. Maybe they are still working on it. So it's better to reserve that for another time. Having said that, there could be things that I can talk what has happened over the last few years. I do not want to say a lot about what's going on in the northern part of Ethiopia, except to express my sadness about the loss of human lives and all the things that have happened to every Ethiopian in that area, and our fellow Tigrayan brothers and sisters in particular, because the war is on their land at the moment. Okay, so there were some people who spoke about these things the last couple of weeks. They are better in politics than me, so I would rather leave that for them. Okay, so what has happened? Some indicating things are it is not a new thing for internet blackout in Ethiopia. If I mention recent years, since the last 6 years, for instance, between mid-2015 and mid-2016, Ethiopia, the internet shutdown costed $9 million. $9 million. And that was done by the Brookings Institution. And Ethiopian GDP at that time was 65 billion US dollars. That's the World Bank figure. And when we worked it out, it's a 0.01% of our national income. Okay, so in terms of percentage, it is a small figure, but $9 million, I just roughly put it, if you can build one hospital in some regional states for $1 million, then $9 million could build 9 hospitals, 9 big hospitals. That's my estimate. So that means that's a big thing. Okay, in 2017 and 2018, there were also protests in Ethiopia, and there were internet shutdowns. In 2020, there was a protest after the days of a musician, this kind of activist kind of musician, and it was $100 million, and that was worked out by NetBlocks, $100 million. Okay, so when you work it out, that time in 2020, our GDP was 96 billion US dollars. And in terms of figures, it's 0.1% in terms of percentage, 0.1% of our national income. But again, when you work it out, $100 million, it is a lot. And that was like 4.5 million every day on a daily basis. That's how much it was. It happened. So it is very costly. Very costly. Internet shutdown is very costly because it disrupts growth or slows down growth, and it costs government revenue, tax revenue. Government loses because of that. Then innovation will be weakened, and consumers and business confidence. Online banking can be affected. Courier services sector can be affected. The fashion business can be affected. Embassies can also be affected. Hotels can find it difficult to do bookings, and banks can be unable to send out money, and customers abroad cannot place orders to buy our products in Ethiopia. Then e-commerce is affected. Tourism and call centers are affected, and there are lots of things that can be affected. So it's a big thing. But when you look at why the internet is shut down, I think in the northern part now, I believe it is because of the war. It's because of the war, because war is war. It was their hardware. There were bombings on both sides. Everybody was fighting. So that damaged the system. And of course, the government might have also blocked it. I'm no expert on that. I don't have a lot of information on that. But sometimes blocking the internet is always a bad thing. So we have to weigh the cost and benefits aspect of blocking the internet. If by leaving it open, if there are lots of things affected, it can affect the economy, and we have got bad experience in Ethiopia, then that can be bad. So we will have to talk about that at a later stage.
Good. That's very good. You have given us a wider view of how much money is lost. Now I just want to turn to Julius. Now, Julius, this is the question that I want to ask, because you've got experience in this. But before the internet, how did the politicians play their games in order to prevent others not to go through, or to you see, like I've been having a conversation with Joel earlier. I understand in Zambia they are locking up opponents, and to us here it is really like an alien thing, but we know that. So before the internet, what games were there to play?
Very good question, JJ. And you ask, it's like you are telling me, flashback. How did you used to live without internet? Yes, if you wanted to date a girl, you used to send a letter, a very romantic letter. But in terms of politics now, which is totally different from dating a girl, A lot of countries in Africa, we know historically, all the countries in Africa, most of them, on the eve of their independence, they kind of implemented what we used to call one-party state. And what actually, essentially, what that means is that it is like coming to UK and you choose maybe the Conservatives. You say legally that would be the only party allowed to be the only party for the country. That was the story in Africa. So with this one-party state, also apparently many countries had just one TV channels, and that TV channel was fully state-owned, owned by the government. So therefore, technically, this became the mouthpiece of the government. We can talk about Uganda, Kenya, Voice of Kenya, and many other countries. One voice, one television channel, which became the mouthpiece of the government. So even before information goes out to the members of the public, it was very well controlled within that particular channel. And also, away from that, of course, we have the politicking of day to day. In the history of Africa, I used to hear so many ways of divining political opponents to the government. So they used to have very interesting names. You see the president talking and say, I'm going to crush these enemies of development. I'm going to deal with this. They are singing their master's voice. And in the imagination of a lot of presidents in Africa, they always thought if you're opposing the government, you are being funded by Western countries like UK, US, and all these other nations in the Western hemisphere where we are. And therefore, that used to be the political method. But I think I've answered your question. If I move on to now where we are in terms of this social media and why they have become an issue politically. They have become an issue politically because, number one, of what they do and the power that they have. So let me give you a picture here. Let's rewind to 2018, or even before that. I spoke about Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica became, they just constructed a fake office in Cambridge, and they became a power to reckon with as data analysts. And after that happened, you see, the next thing is they colluded with Facebook, and they harvested data of about 80 million people across the world. Now, harvesting your data, what does that mean to us, ordinary folks like me? It means if I have a Facebook account, the Facebook system has a capacity to monitor my lifestyle and also use these algorithms to kind of identify what kind of a person I am and what actually they can do to psychologically influence me to vote in a particular way. So that's scary. And while that was a setup, when we are talking about this Cambridge Analytica, they were used across the world. Yeah, elections in Kenya, Nigeria, all the way to Sri Lanka, and very, very recent, Donald Trump was a beneficiary of these Cambridge Analytica ways of doing things. But when Facebook was caught, Mark Zuckerberg, he's got a very funny name. I wish it was an African name, I'll say it easier. But there you go. When they were discovered, we see in a situation whereby in 2019 alone, US Federal Trade Commission fined Facebook £1 billion US dollars. And then also here in the UK, we see them being fined £500,000 in the UK. And they managed to pay the UK bit, but in the US, before they made payment, Cambridge Analytica filed for bankruptcy. So let's even actually think along the lines of being controlled politically. The man who blew the whistle on Cambridge Analytica, he says that he felt guilty about the actions they were doing. And he says that he was so upset that he realized they were like playing with the psychology of entire countries, playing with the psychology of a nation. That's serious stuff. And therefore, when we see ourselves in the world thinking about why is it that African countries are so afraid of the social media, that is one of the reasons why it has become an issue. If they have the power to control political election and results, then you are speaking to their fears, definitely. Museveni would be so unhappy to hear, oh, Cambridge Analytica was used and some elections were won, and it's not him. And therefore, when they struck in Uganda last year by, deactivating accounts of top officials, probably thought they are coming for me. Let me shut the whole internet. so, so we have issues when it comes to social media and politicians in Africa. But let's ask ourselves a question. How good is it to be that, have that phobia, and also be that paranoid to hack that way, to shut down a whole country internet? What is it you're doing? You see, when Facebook deactivated accounts of a few top officials, they took them, it's like denying them voice on a social platform. But when you cut off the whole internet, we are talking about millions and millions of people. Their voices have been, deactivated. You have no voice. You cannot express yourself. And therefore, you find yourself in a situation where Uganda, people are counting on actually the social media to help them, to internet to help them to do ABC, ABCD. Politically, it was not possible. Talk even about Uganda as a country. They invested so much money to buy technology to help them in even counting the votes during elections. But you shut down the internet. How did you even arrive at the election result that you have? Because the whole thing, or the machine used, was supposed to work with internet, but the internet was not available. So therefore, you see immediately it's affecting the election results in a different way. You see the shutting down also is denying millions of Ugandans their voice being heard, because you need to have those social conversations to begin to campaign, begin to support a candidate of your choice until that choice goes through. It's still your voice. It's your right to choose whether you want to choose. And therefore, shutting down a whole country because of political reason definitely is denying the voice of all of these millions of people.
Yeah, but don't you think that is the behavior of African politicians or African politics? Because as you have stated that in the past, they were using different tactics. And in fact, now they have combined the old tactics and the new. You can either block your opponent, put him in jail, or put her in jail. Now you are denying even the young people. But I see the internet blackouts actually is aimed at the young generation, because these are the people who are actually very, very active, and they can mobilize. You see, look at what happened in Egypt during the Arab Spring. Even broadcasters, they were just scratching their heads because, okay, come in, okay, right. So Joel, you see, okay, I know your origins are from the Caribbean. What is the situation, say, for example, in the Caribbean? Do you think there are these kind of tricks when there are elections, they shut down all this internet and all? Do they also lock their opponents in there? Because we want to see how the world is coordinating. We shouldn't be thinking now we are just talking about Uganda only, but you can also see they employed the same tactics in Tanzania, Lesotho, Ivory Coast, and everywhere else. How about the Caribbean?
And Julius has already spoken about Cambridge Analytica. At the same time, Cambridge Analytica was working on the Trump's campaign and other campaigns across the world. They were talking to the politicians in St. Kitts and Nevis, small islands, about how it is they can help them to win the next election. And major contracts were about to be exchanged between Cambridge Analytica and the government to help them. So that became part of the whole Trump scandal and how that worked. But for me, the internet is a wonderful device. It is something that allows fast communication, allows us to connect. So when you shut off the internet, You know, I'm actually thinking about shutting off the internet. I remember before the internet, my father used to shut off the television at 9 o'clock because if we were naughty children, that's what he would do. He had the power to do that. So he had the power to stop us accessing our entertainment, our fun, and so on, and we'd be sent to bed. And the African leaders who shut off the internet in this way, acting pretty much like my father Samuel O'Loughlin, in saying, "You are children. I can deny you your fun. I can deny you your voice." You know, and that really is unacceptable. But it's not new. This is one form of media, and every form of media that develops, we know that the people who are in power and those who are out of power use these methods to get where they want to go. I remember prior to the internet, the biggest thing when there was a coup d'etat wasn't shutting off the internet. It was taking control of the radio and the TV stations, because those were the methods by which you got out your message. And those were the methods also by which people could see, like in the Arab Springs, that, you know, they had a number of people who were supporting their position. Right now in Myanmar, you see the internet being a key way that people get their news, and see how many people are joining the protest against what the dictators have done. So it's vital for both sides. It's vital for the side in control, the side who wants to maintain their position, you know, to shut off the feed, which is the lifeblood of the movement. But it's also vital for the movement, liberation movements in particular, to have access to some means of sending quick messages. And if you just think of emails and how much that's revolutionized the way that we speak to each other, you will know that the impact of shutting off the internet is not just about social media. It's about our ability to talk to each other very quickly. Who doesn't use WhatsApp or Telegram or one of these social media means of getting their message across, or just to have fun? I know most people who use social media now are in the entertainment sphere, and they're more interested in watching cats chase their tails or a ball of wool than they are news. But that primarily now is becoming the means to which we get our information. And that information is loaded with a lot of propaganda. That information is loaded with advertising. It's loaded with a whole range of things. And I think the debate is not just about internet or not internet. The debate is about the quality of the information that tracks along the internet and reaches each one of us, and helps us to make decisions which are good for us or not. We're in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and the amount of resistance that we've had, particularly for Africans and for ethnic minorities, to taking the injection, has come from posts on the internet. I mean, I get 5 or 6 internet posts every day telling me how bad this is, and yet on the other side, we have government last night here in the UK mounting a whole range of celebrities to tell us it's a good thing. So all sides use these processes to get their messages over. The key thing is that we need to educate the population to receive that information, process it, and make clear decisions about their lives and what's best for them, and not just swallow what is fed to them.
Now, there is a gentleman here. Let me just go through. There are people who are watching with us, actually. And thank you very much for watching. And there is a lady from Washington. This lady is called Catherine Free from Ngom. The name, sorry to mispronounce, to butcher your name. But now, there is a gentleman here by the name of Ashu Ngetsei. He says that he used to be a lecturer in one of the universities in eastern Ethiopia. But he left Ethiopia because of instabilities and stuff like that. He got a scholarship to China. But I'm wondering whether he's still in China, and he's saying because of the blackouts and the internet, even when the internet comes back, it doesn't really function properly. So this gentleman here says that he hasn't been in touch with with his mother for quite a period of time. But let me turn to Dr. Tesfaye. You see, what we are discussing here, it is like all these things which are happening in Africa are quite new, and some of it we don't know how to deal with it. Maybe to me it looks like we don't have advisors who are actually giving proper advice to governments. So when you go on and lock down, you shut down the internet, which is actually bringing in revenue and also making people's lives better. Not only the young ones, because as you have put it, the internet is a business tool, because you can trade with anyone, anywhere you wish. So what would you like to add, Dr. Tesfaye? In terms, let us, in fact, me in particular, let us talk about Tigray, what is happening there, and how, because Tigray is being hit by COVID-19 like everywhere else, like I said before, and now you have got these social media blackouts. You can't even get information in, you can't get information out. So what is your take on this?
That's a difficult question for someone in economics. This is more of political thing. As I said before, the first thing I would like to say is to express my distress, sadness about what's going on there. People dying. Obviously, there is war going on, and my guess, I haven't done a lot of research on that, but from what I hear, of course, I follow up Ethiopian situation on a single day, every single day, on a daily basis. I think I would say the problem there is the war at the moment. And of course, that does not mean that the government may stop internet transmission. Why the government is doing that? If the government has done that in the first place, I think, as I said, most governments do that. Even before this government is like 3 years old, then even before that, such things happen. So to be honest with you, I would rather not comment much about that because that's a very sensitive area and I'm not quite good at it. My friends who have been some colleagues who have been here, some pro TPLF, some on the other side. I heard their comments a couple of weeks ago. I think let's stick to what their views are. I want to talk about the economic aspect, especially the one they talked about. My real challenge for you guys is that, to be honest with you, I wish there was a separation between internet for business and internet for other things. So the social media, it is imposed on us. We didn't ask for it. So Facebook is there. Before Facebook, we had life, while there were many ways of getting information about what's going on in politics, what's going on economics. But Facebook, is it being used or is it being abused? In the Ethiopian case, we are going through a very difficult ethnocentric politics. We have been going through for several years. Okay, does it have positive things? Probably. Are there things to be changed? Yes, there could be things changed. But the Facebook is allowing every single person, young people, the right to say whatever they want to say on the internet. It is very poisonous. It is an input, a recipe for war, for civil wars. And in fact, it is my wish that Facebook is restricted, like maybe for 2 days a week. We don't have to accept what the West gives us. Look, the economic benefit of Facebook social media. For instance, it increases website traffic. Social media, there are key ways to drive traffic to our website. Then customers can express their views using that. It can boost sales. Then it can help to partner with influencers. Now, in economic terms, even in Addis Ababa, the capital city, how much percent of the people are using it for economic benefits. But tell me about the political things. It is out of control. Young people, they say whatever they want to say, and that is becoming a recipe to war. So I think my strong view is that the Facebook or the social media have to be restricted. So yes, internet, we need internet. Yes, we need internet for the reasons that I mentioned, for economic reasons. But the social media things, in my view, are doing, at least at this stage, at least in Ethiopia, they are doing more damage than good. This is my view for take
Okay.
everything.
Okay, Dr. Tesfai. Right, I hear you. But this is my view and my opinion only, but maybe Julius will help to hear. Julius and Joel will help us. When you say you would like the internet to be restricted, you are actually, it is like, then you are becoming like the government then, because you are denying freedom, because internet and social media is actually a tool to connect, to do business, and also express to express yourself free as much as you like. So, but also it depends on an individual. If there are people who are using internet to abuse others, there are people who are using internet, the same tool, they're using it as for business. Last week I was talking to a young lady from Kenya who has relocated to South Africa. You have to see what she's doing. You know, if you use it positively, then it is okay. Look, like what we are doing here. We are here, we are having a conversation, and we are actually creating awareness. We are discussing, we are not abusing anyone, we are not even supporting any government, but we are just giving our observations. So restricting the internet, I don't think that is again my view. So Julius, what is your take on this?
I quite like the idea that he brought that other angle to things, because what you find out is that whenever you ask me my immediate perception of internet, I always say, if you want to look for God, you find God in the internet. If you want to look for the devil, you find the devil in the internet. So it just depends on where you stand. Look at it this way. I had a very interesting conversation when President Donald Trump was banned by Facebook, but also on Twitter and all other social media. You see, way back when I was doing politics in uni, they told me I came across a political philosopher. His name is John Rawls, and he wrote a book known as A Theory of Democracy. And he has very successfully argued that a society is held together uh, by regulation of some sort. It could be a legal framework that regulates the society. It could be political framework that regulates the society. And he said that all opinions are important. Everyone has a right to express themselves. But it comes a time when, as a society, we need to ask ourselves a question. If someone is just propagating hate, and is an extremist, do you continue to give them that particular platform? Typically, well illustrated during the case of Donald Trump. Is Twitter, he has so many millions of followers, but what is he tweeting? What is he saying when he comes on social media tweeting, telling all those who voted for us, let us go and stop the stealing? And that essentially means violence, causing an insurrection. Now, that is where things go wrong. And therefore, someone was saying to me, yeah, Facebook banning Donald Trump was against, freedom of expression. But therefore, how do you weigh as a society what is more important? And, that freedom of one person, which will cause harm to millions? Or do you also think the majority also have their say? I want to say that whichever way you look at it, it's important to check that the systems are not being, social media is not being used to propagate hate, to cause harm to so many people. It's not being used by extremists to continue to propagate their hate messages. It's not also used by terrorists to propagate their terrorism. But at a particular point, then you see if that is successfully done and handled, that's when you come and say we all have freedom. Social media is very important. We have to protect the rights of everybody to fully express themselves without being barred or stopped at any particular given point. So Dr. Tesfaye has a point there, but also there's another point. I fully, as a media practitioner, I fully support the freedom of expression, which is very paramount, because if we begin to restrict people, then you find messages are not getting across. The channels are being blocked at some point and messages are not getting across. It's better when we have freedom of expression. At the end of the day, somebody says, never fear someone who speaks a lot, because you know what is in their mind. Fear the person who keeps quiet, because you don't know what they think.
I would like just to say thank you very much, guys. And but before I go to Joel, I need to read one message here from Catherine. I'm just going only to mention one name, Catherine. The others I can't pronounce. But she's saying that if the government has given its citizens useful knowledge and freedom of speech, it wouldn't be so threatened about what they are getting from the internet. So I don't. Okay, Joel, this is for you. Just that. Do you want me to read the message again?
No, that's fine. I've got it. I think there's no such thing as freedom of speech. In fact, there's no such thing as absolute freedom. Everything has to be abrogated by people's safety, people's interests, and so on. So, even the Americans, I think, whilst they promote this notion of free speech and freedom of expression, appreciate that there are limitations to that. Hate speech is going to get people to do crazy things. So on the 6th of January, they decide to go and storm the Capitol building. That's a crazy stuff. So, and Donald Trump is being brought to book and was impeached because of his role in that. So there's no absolute freedoms and so on. But let me pick up Dr. Tesfaye's wish list, which, let's only have 2 days of the internet. Facebook is a $103 billion business. That's the size of that huge thing. Even Rupert Murdoch now is having a challenge with Facebook, because the battle that is being fought between Facebook and the government in Australia at the moment is really about Rupert Murdoch wanting to make sure that he gets some revenues for his news output and his news organization. So, and he's a huge corporation who also runs Fox and so on, and has an opinion on where people are. And it is when you've got the control of the media and the control of the message in certain hands, and those particular hands are not necessarily, positive in being benevolent, that's when you have a problem. Every technology has its advantages and its disadvantages, and we need to think about how we can make sure we disemphasize some of the disadvantages that this technology has. Is it harmful for people to spend 5 or 6 hours a night watching cats and doing all kinds of nonsense, rather than something which could be more productive? Well, I think so. But am I going to stand in the way of them doing so and their freedom of expression if they don't harm anybody? No. I think that's up to them how they want to live their lives. If they don't want to be productive, then that's for them. And I admit, I sometimes watch the cats run around after their tails too, when I'm under pressure and there's a tough moment. So all of us are prey to this entertainment culture that we've developed on social media. But clearly the internet has use value for business. It has use value for personal communications between ourselves, and it has use value for dealing with emergencies as well. So let's not go back to basics. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has been useful in moving us forward, and we should look to the good uses of it and expand on how that could be beneficial to us, and de-emphasize the negative impact of those technologies.
Thank you guys. It has been a very good discussion. You see, I am until now I'm very lucky, because when on AIL TV, I haven't seen arguments like I see on Al Jazeera and stuff like that. People, I have always been praying, let us be civil, you know. We can disagree or we can agree with each other, but still we see what another person is saying. Now, I just want, before I finish, there are two important news actually I would like just to say. I want to insert this in this section because I know it is very interesting. The very first one I want to talk about. Now we have got a president of WTO, and I'm sure you guys, you know whom I'm talking about. It is actually about, do you really think it is about time to have a person representing WTO from Africa, and on top of that actually being female? Before I play the clip or before I show, let me just bring this up. I think this is the one. Yeah, I will be talking as we are talking. This lady here has actually brought in some happiness to me, because I can see, yes, now Africans, we are being recognized, but she has worked very, 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 very hard. And this is what she says.
I'm very proud to be the first African. I'm proud to be the first woman. But I always tell people that the important thing is to have the competence to deliver the results. In other words, if you're the first woman and the first African and you can't deliver, that doesn't help. So I'm focusing on delivery. I'm focusing on getting results. And I want to make sure that people remember my continent producing the first leader of the WTO that made a difference. I believe the WTO can contribute so much more to helping solve the pandemic. This is what the world is facing right now. And so a very top priority for me would be to make sure that prior to the very important ministerial conference, whose date is yet to be decided, but maybe at the end of the year, that we come to top priority.
So, now, Julius, what? I just want to ask just a simple question. What is your thought on this?
Now, Julius. The thing is, I met Dr. Okojo Iweala when she was MD for like the World Bank. Our CV speaks volume. She's not like, oh, this is just we are lucky as Africa kind of a narrative. She's more than 100 times qualified for that position through her own hard work. And therefore, probably my immediate reaction would be, there's no top ceiling for any African. You can go as far as you wish to be, as long as you are willing to work for it. Because I know she worked for it, and that's why I fully respect her. Of course, there was fierce competition globally. America ended up almost holding a nomination hostage because they were still fighting till the last minute. And she was competing with the former lady from Kenya, Dr. Amina Mohammed. So they were like the top ranking two from Africa. So I'm happy one of them has gone through, and I wish we see a lot more. But that story tells us one thing: there's no top ceiling in the world. We can aspire, we can pursue, we can compete until we win.
Dr. Tesfaye, you know what? We have got a woman president in Ethiopia. So now I really want just to hear your it's not a comparison, because this lady, she has been there a long time. She has been at the World Bank. She has been. But do you think if you have got a woman president in Ethiopia, there might be a little bit of a change, or what do you think?
Okay, if you allow me, like just literally 30 seconds to paraphrase what I said before. For the last few years, when I was writing on Facebook that Facebook has to be restricted like 2 days a week, I'm talking about just the Facebook, not internet, because internet is called for business, but Facebook, even other scholars are talking about alternatives. For instance, companying, leasing lines and direct cables, so that they use the internet facilities for business only. So it's because I witnessed in Ethiopia circumstances are different. Because I witnessed this thing being a recipe for war in our country. That is why I said that, and that's for a certain period of time. And we don't have to accept everything that the West gives us. So social media, Facebook, we don't use it for economic purpose. That's a small point. I'm not against technology, but looking at the cost benefit. Okay, I want to say about the WTO African woman. I'm very happy to have her. She's going to be a role model for my daughter, and I want to see more females and more Africans taking control of that. Then after that, it's a system that works anyway. Even if she's there, it's a system that works at the end of the day. But I'm more interested in WTO, because WTO, it succeeded GATT. It was GATT before that. So that's General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. So there are rounds, the Uruguay rounds and other different rounds. Now they came to World Trade Organization and they want to facilitate trade. I'm more interested in that because I want Africans to trade one another. I want East Africans to trade one another. Ethiopians, Eritreans, Tigray, of course, who are Ethiopians as well. All of us, Somalis, Djiboutis, all of us to be friends and to work together to trade one another and prosper. That is what I want. That's what I want to see, more than individuals taking place. Of course, I'm very happy. About the female president in our country, well, I think the most powerful person is whoever holds the prime ministerial office. She's ceremonial, but I'm very happy. It is good. Of course, individuals can make change. But I wonder if she has any meaningful political power. To be honest with you, I think it's a ceremonial. I think in the Ethiopian constitution, it is a prime minister, the person who holds the prime minister's office, who is probably the most powerful person. So yeah, a female prime minister. I always want in Ethiopia. There is a special lady called Mufariat. Her name is Mufariat. I love her. She's so good, and I really hope that one day she will be the prime minister of our country. If it's not her, it's going to be my daughter.
Very good, Tesfaye. So, Joel, give
Tesfaye,
us.
I wish your daughter well. I think the appointment of Dr. Ewela speaks well for all Africans. She is the first African to head the World Trade Organization. And this is not just a landmark for her personally and for Africa, but it's for Nigeria, the most populous country. And I think it's right that is her heritage. And I'm sure that Nigerians are celebrating as we speak. I think it was despicable of Donald Trump to try to block her appointment up to this point, but she has overcome, and we should all rejoice in that. But we need to remember, she's not the first woman who is an African who's risen to those heights. We've had Ellen Sirleaf in Liberia and others. And I really look forward to the day that we don't have to celebrate the fact that a woman and an African has risen to those levels. I'm looking forward to the day when it becomes normal and we just say, hey, this person has got there because they're exceptional. And we shouldn't really have to we shouldn't really have to say we can do it, because we know we can do it. We've done it so many times, and I think we should encourage, particularly our young women, to reach for high aspiration, the kind of high aspirations that she's reached for, because we know that they can do it. And there's so many examples of where sisters and mothers and daughters have done it before. Jay.
Now, there is another one. This is a refugee from Congo. She has attained the position of a rector at the Edinburgh University. Let us just see. This is just no. That is not I'm going to be sacked here.
We shall fire you.
Yes.
It's okay if you can't find it because of time.
Yes, Deborah Kayembe is a resident of Scotland since 2011. Human rights lawyer Deborah Kayembe was named the rector of the University of Edinburgh, one of the UK's most prestigious institutions, in early February, and she will assume her position in March. You can't hear me, right? Now with this, at least this is it is giving us a little bit of I mean fire, as Joel, you have put it very well. It has to be normalized. We do not have to be thinking, oh yeah, well today we have got someone in the UN. We just, we have got these small things. It is not actually small, but these incidents, they always, we feel justified to see a guy like Kofi Annan when he was at the UN. We started feeling, yeah. But Joel, you have actually put it right. And that's why, you see, every time I see a black person pilot like this guy, Thiam, the guy who was the head of the Swiss bank, yeah? And everybody was just jumping up and said, why? The guy has worked for it. He has got the capacity to do it. So this is the time to say, yeah, okay, you know what? Yeah, let us normalize it. So ladies and gentlemen, and you have been so good. You see, with this kind of information, I have been saying this for a long time, that every time we see an African, he is either dancing or running on the track or playing football. So now I think now you are bringing this idea that yes, Africans can actually have their own discussions. They can organize themselves. It's like now we are organizing ourselves. That's why I'm saying, Dr. Tesfaye, the idea of banning Facebook, we are going to have actually
restricting.
Yeah. Oh, restricting. Yeah, but we are going to have. It's a very good discussion point. We are going to have a whole debate actually based on that. So you see here, we are on Facebook. That's where we are streaming. And as Joel put it, that Facebook, it has disrupted a whole lot of things. Because Rupert Murdoch used to think he's the only king who can be, he's king of the media. Yes, Julius, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm actually got another meeting to go as well. So just if we can wrap up. But yeah, it's been fantastic discussion, and yeah, we need more of this.
And if I may say, I know my friend is when the watch here, Tesfaye. How can we say that you have been on Facebook for 7 days a week? You know what my answer for them would be? If it is in 2 days or 3 days, I can't do what I'm doing now in 7 days. So that's my answer. So it's a temporary thing that I suggested, but it's good. It's good. We have different opinion.
Fantastic.
Well, my congratulations to you, Jay, for a positive use of Facebook and the internet.
No, but we have got, you see this, Julius, he has got a very good program called Global Conversations. And you need to start listening to it. Fantastic program.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Every Saturday morning at 8.
The more we combine the efforts, the more we disperse our thing. And also read his newspaper, Informa East Africa. So I am going to
May
conclude
I
by
say, may I say everything I say it is my own views. It has nothing to do with my workplace or anywhere else. So it's just my personal views. And I'm very happy to say that I will expand on that in the future.
well, nobody's gonna come after you. We are in a
No,
we
no,
are,
no, no, no. Just for the record.
so. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for those of you who have been watching. We have had a very captivating conversation because all we have on this program, they are quality, just pure quality. Everything that they are saying, they have been in it. They have got an experience of everything. You get our broadcaster Julius. Mbaluto, political analyst. Then we had the economist and the lecturer in economist. Then we had Joel on as a management consultant. But what I'm saying is this: if you want to support us, you can support us in so many ways. I have also got a GoFundMe page where you can actually donate a little bit, because what we are planning to do here is actually to improve the production of our program. We want to have better reporting. We want to collaborate with the reporters from all over Africa, not only, let's say, people in the diaspora. Now, the conversation continues. I am very, very much interested to hear the views of those who support Dr. Tesfaye of restricting Facebook only to two weeks a week. I don't think that will we will struggle with that. But as of now, I must say I will see you next week. Next week, I hope David Otto will be here. And as now, I just say ciao for now.